Remind me how long you've been in business?
So this company, the abs company, was is 16 years.
16 years.
Yep.
Wow. That's a really long journey. Take me all the way back to the very beginning of the abs company. What motivated you to start this? And if I understand correctly, this wasn't your first business in the fitness industry. Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't so the short story of it is when I was finishing college as an undergrad, I had to do an internship and I didn't have the funds to stay up at school and do that. So I came home and I stumbled into a local gym and I said, "Hey, I need to do a summer internship to get some credits." And the guy that owned the gym said, "Yeah, sure. We'll take some low cost help. Why not?" In those days,
Yeah.
I'm a little older than you. Those days it was about $4 an hour. I'm like, "I'll take it."
Wow.
It wasn't free. So I'm like, "I'll take it." So I was doing that, but the guy that owned that company, the health club was called Exercise and X. His name was Don Brown, and he invented a super famous product called the ab roller. And that was where you would lay on the ground and you would do crunches. It looked like a little
Hmm.
rocking chair.
Yeah.
That product went on to sell over $1 billion.
I think
Billion.
I had one growing up. I'm pretty
Yeah, you
sure.
probably
Yeah.
that's good. Contributed to the fund.
Yeah.
Well, I had no part of that, of course, but I got $1 billion education. I had a front row seat to it all.
Hmm.
And so skip ahead, I left Exercise and I went to graduate school at the University of Florida, and I was studying clinical physiology. I was working with people who had organ transplants, and it was awesome. But I always wanted to be on the preventative side. I was an athlete my whole life, and I knew that if you could, live a healthy lifestyle, maybe you wouldn't get to the point where you need an organ transplant. I get genetics and all that, but by and large, lifestyle matters. So I left the University of Florida after graduating. I went back and worked for my friend Don. And when I was leaving the first time, he says to me, "You'll be back someday." I'm like, "No, no, I'm good, man. I'm on to bigger and better things." Well, when I came back, the ab roller was growing so big that he offered me equity in the health club business. So that was
Okay.
really my first start in business ownership. Now I was about 24 years old. So I thought, this is great, man. I got equity in that chain of clubs, whatever. I didn't know health clubs don't make money. It's
Oh,
very hard to make money in that business because it's retail, right? You're paying high rents. You're got a lot of
yeah.
staff, a lot of overhead in that business. But because of the success of the ab roller, a lot of inventors started to come to Don, say, "Hey, I have an
Mm.
idea for this. I have an idea for that." And the next big product that came our way was what became the ab coaster. And Don came to me because at that point I'd proven myself, my loyalty, my work ethic. He said, "Do you want to be a part of this?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, I do. I saw what the first one did. So let me in." So what was interesting about it is when the product came to us, it was a straight track. This was the guy's idea was to have the first ab product that worked from the bottom. So if you think of the crunch, the ab roller, it was a
Coming
top
up.
down, like doing a
Hmm.
crunch, right? This idea was to work from the bottom. But the
Mm.
guy's idea was a straight track. So I was a physiologist. I wasn't that impressed with the idea because I'm like, it's not really how the body works. So Don figured out that if you curved the rails on it and made a track instead of a ramp, it would work. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. So we jumped in. We started. We did a TV infomercial on that product. But being fitness guys, we wanted a legitimate product too because we didn't want to get beat up in the old. Oh, it's a TV
Yeah.
gimmick commercial. So we made commercial versions. So we were simultaneously selling to the commercial market and to the home market. And they really fed each other. And I learned a valuable lesson in that. And that was that the more markets, the more verticals you can be in, there you will get spillover and additive
Mm.
effect. A lot of times people think you will cannibalize your markets. And it can be true. But in my experience, they feed each other because the fitness consumer is the fitness consumer.
Hmm.
A lot of people that join clubs and studios, whatever, they have home equipment, right? And a lot of people who have home equipment eventually want something more, so they go join a club. So doing both simultaneously was really the magic for us. And that product went on to do, well over $100 million in TV sales and started what is now known as the Apps Company.
And I imagine having it in the commercial and in home, but having it in the commercial adds a little bit of trust or adds a little bit of assurance that this is a legit piece of equipment. There's gyms that have this. Is that what you found?
You're 100% right on that. And we would use that extensively in our marketing, right? So
Yeah.
used by professional gyms, used by trainers, used by the Navy SEALs. We still do that stuff in our marketing today because, yeah, people do want a legitimacy of knowing the pros, quote unquote, use it as well.
And as you're building out equipment, do you find that you need to build it out based on what people will already know? Or do you build with the idea of, hey, we're going to help educate people on how to exercise? What does that look like?
Yeah, education, as you can imagine, is a very expensive game.
Yeah.
And when you're launching a brand or a concept or a product that people know nothing about, you better have super deep pockets, especially today when there's so much noise and competition for that attention. So what we generally look for is what's a hot category. I look
Mm,
categorically, right? And then I say, how can I put a spin on that and make it something that's going to attract people? So for example, abs is the category, right? Ab
mhm,
poster was the vehicle. Then it became the Absola or the abs bench or whatever the next ab thing was. Now we're also into glute products, super hot category. Anybody who turns on any social media in a fitness space sees people doing glute exercise. It's like, all right,
mm,
how can we make something cool in that area versus saying, here's the best new thing on the market. We tie it to what they want and say, it's the old problem solution. The reason you don't have the abs that you want, you haven't been doing this. The reason you don't have the
mhm.
glutes you want, you haven't been doing this. That's always our marketing angle. And we make it so simple and intuitive that it resonates with people.
Yeah. And what's the average price of a piece of equipment from you, like the ab coaster?
So great question. The home ab coaster sells for $399.
Okay.
And the commercial one that would go in a health club sells for about $2,200. So same product, just beefed up stuff, beefed up steel components, everything about
Hmm.
it. And then we have one in the middle as well. It's about $1,500 because sometimes you'll have a gym that caters to maybe women or certain countries where the people are smaller. They want something, or you'll get a home consumer who says, you know what? I like a little nicer stuff in my home gym, but I don't need exactly what's at my gym. So we find a lot of people spill into the middle as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense too, because, if you're at home, you will use it probably once a day, hopefully, right? Whereas if it's in a gym, many people are going to use it once a day,
Yeah,
right? So there's a lot more wear and tear on it that way.
absolutely.
Um, I know you've said before that the person closest to the customer wins.
Yeah.
Is that a mindset you've had from the very beginning when you were working, on your initial projects, or is this something you've learned along the way?
Both, to be honest with you. I've always had the mentality. I'm old school, and so I'm from New Jersey. And New Jersey, man, we do things on a handshake. On a handshake.
Mm,
We're gentlemen. That's how we do things. And what I learned in all of that was if I can shake your hand, if I can look you in the eye, if we can make a deal and we're both honorable, it's gonna work out.
yeah.
The deal we did a deal on the Ab Coaster with an infomercial company, right? Like I said, well over $100 million. Ask me for that contract. I don't have
Yeah.
one, right? I don't have it. Like,
Yeah.
we're friends. I coached his son in football, whatever. That's how we do it. So what I learned as the world started to change and our business started to grow is that a lot of my competitors especially on the commercial side will do things via Zoom or do it via email. I'm on the road, man.
You like to be in person.
Yeah, we do business in 68 countries. Me, my sales team, everybody. We go out because if I can form that relationship with you, it just takes things to a whole nother level. And that's what I mean by person closest to the customer. It's just having that personal relationship. And it's a skill that a lot of people, coming up nowadays have to really learn. I have a son, he's 21 years old, graduating from college. And since he was a little kid, I taught him that he would see me on the weekends. We go to the bank, right? He's like, why don't you just do it online? I'm like, because I want to know who my banker is. When I need
Mhm.
something, I got a relationship. I go into the post office. I do these things and stuff I learned from my dad, my grandfather, just carried through with me. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a powerful concept, and it's not that hard because a lot of people aren't doing it. So you stand out.
Yeah, and I'm sure it helps build community as well with your customers and with the people that you're working with.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, we work on the commercial side. We work with nearly every major brand, right? Planet Fitness, Gold's Gym, EOS, Crunch, so on
really?
and so forth. And those franchise groups, that's exactly what it is. They are a community. And if you can get entrenched inside that community and bring real value, it may start with one franchisee, two franchisees, whatever. But before you know it, you get them all because they're like, those dudes are first class. And that only happens if you're there.
Oh, that's right. Because so you technically aren't selling to Planet Fitness, you're selling to owners of the franchises that way. Is that right?
Yes and no. Like Planet in the Planet world, they and a lot of franchise
Or
groups
just
they
gyms?
have
Just franchise gyms. Yeah.
Yeah, franchise gyms a lot of times have an arm that is an equipment division arm. So you sell to that and then they resell to their franchisee. And the reason
Gotcha.
they do that is because that way they ensure consistency of pricing. Like you may be a franchisee who's a better negotiator. Well, they don't want that in the system, right?
Hmm.
And we love it because now we're dealing with a source. But the relationship also has to fill. We have to be in relationship with the franchisee, where you
Yeah.
may get his first club, but some of these dudes on 100 clubs, right? You
Oh,
may
wow.
not get all 100 if you don't have the relationship. So it's a lot of work in there for sure.
Yeah, and you've been through a marketing journey. I know you said with your first product, it was really infomercial television, which still runs, right? Still a prime opportunity for products. But the internet and paid social and SEO and email marketing, all these different things have popped up. How has that shifted your marketing focus at all, or do you feel that you still kind of lean towards the infomercial or the TV side?
No, by far, that Abco's was the last infomercial we ever did.
Okay.
But you know, it was crazy thing about that infomercial is during the pandemic, when the home fitness business was really exploding again,
Hmm.
because a lot of gyms were closed, we put
Hmm.
the same infomercial from 2007 back on the air. Didn't change a
Oh,
thing.
really?
Didn't
Really?
change a thing. Worked all over again. It was bananas. But nowadays, and we will simultaneously we're running Facebook and all the other places.
Hmm.
The beauty of today's world and all of it is that to do an infomercial like that, this is back in '07, right? When this was
Hmm.
being filmed, over $500,000 to get the production value, right?
Wow.
Think about the amount of that's not even airtime, right? That's just
Yeah.
production. Then you're spending, we were spending in those days upwards of $1 million a week on airtime, right?
Really?
As long as it's paying, you keep, you ramp it up, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. But nowadays, think about just the 500,000. How much content could you create? How much ad space could you buy? And how much more targeted can you be? Like in
Hmm.
those days, you know what targeting was back then? Let's see. We want to reach people who are interested in athletics. All right, ESPN, maybe Fox Sports, whatever. Now, as you guys, your audience well knows, and I can get you the kind of socks you wear. I'll target you on that, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
matter. So in that sense, it's really changed the game. It allows you a lot more shots, and it also allows you a lot more chances to test your messaging. Because back
Hmm.
then, the only thing you could really change was your CTA, your call to action. What was your offer? Like,
Where
is
to
it
call, what to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
is it your one pay? Is it a four pay? Do you get an extra nutrition plan? Whatever. Now, shoot, man, we can change whatever we want, test everything, and that's the game.
And is your product type, is your business, I know all businesses need lifetime value, so I guess it's going to be weird the way I ask this, but is it lifetime value focused? Because the long tailed question I'm trying to get to is I've talked with a couple of business owners, some in the fitness, some in like the CBD space, and products that can need not necessarily just education, but to fit into people's daily life routines so that they stick with the product and then keep doing business can always be a journey, right? So, do you see opportunities with lifetime value, or do you feel that there's like a stickiness with the product and your customers are already prepped and ready for using it?
Yeah, a little bit of both. And on the commercial side, lifetime value is massive, right?
Hmm.
Because we have, let's say in
Yeah.
our portfolio, we have 20 products. You may be interested today in one of my functional products. You may be one of these people like, oh, I don't like ab products or I don't need glute products, right? But once I get you in the ecosystem, we can educate and get more sale out of you. So on that side, absolutely. On the home side of our products, it is a little bit different because like a CBD guy or another supplement, whatever it may be, a lot of times here's a free sample, or here's a very low cost thing. Oh, I like it. I'll keep going. When you buy a $400 ab coaster, you're kind of in, right? Now you can return it, you can do whatever. But what we're looking for next there is, okay, we know this person's into fitness. And I say to my team all the time, nobody buys one thing in fitness. They
Mm-hmm.
don't, right? So what's our next thing? You're a guy that bought an ab coaster. Well, maybe you got a girlfriend or a sister or somebody who might like a glute product, right? So we hit you that way. But we do largely have to make a lot of our money on the consumer side on that first deal. It's not like we're going to get you on a subscription per se. Now, I would love that. When we were in the infomercial days, one of the upsells when you would call was, hey, hop on this protein thing. You really want to lose weight and get those abs? You need a protein.
Really?
And it was interesting. You found people, the average stay on that program was only about 3 months because people would do it or they forgot they were doing it. And then the next bottle shows up or whatever.
Too
So
much
lose it. But
product.
Yeah, but that's the holy grail, of course. If you have a consumable that you can get on subscription, that's everything. But app coasters aren't necessarily that.
Yeah, and so are you doing any? I know you said with paid social or with digital marketing, you can test your offers a little bit more, right? Is there anything you're offering to your customer base to make the purchase more attractive or to make the purchase go a little bit smoother?
Yeah, we'll bring it. We'll bring them in on some education.
Mhm.
Download a free diet for abs, or download a glute workout you can do at home, or that sort of thing. To get them in the system. But then the biggest thing, to be honest with you, that we've found that gets them over the line: sign up for our list and get 10% off. And people love it, man. You see the conversion on that. That's been the highest conversion. I'll get you to sign. We even tested the sign up ratio, right? Because we know a lot of times our product isn't a one click close, right? You got to move through the journey a little bit more. And we tested, okay, let's test a free ebook or whatever to get you in versus the coupon. The coupon blows it away off the charts in terms of that.
Really?
And now what we do is we can either, we hit you, we were doing text and email, or sell an email. And
Hmm.
for us, we found that wasn't the right way. We found email first. So we got you. And then, do you want to be on our text list as well? And you get a good number, but most of the people we find still going for the email. That's been our best conversion rate. Simple 10% off coupon. And then we take them through a little funnel, and then you do a last ditch at 15% later. So
And I imagine, with your product, there's the benefit of that immediate burn or that immediate sensation when they use it, like, oh, this is working, right? Like, oh, this is doing something here. Do you find that when you're in front of the customer, when you're in person, that helps as well? Like, actually try the product out, like, see it for yourself.
100%. And that's a lesson I learned back in the ab roller days, right? What I learned from that, the reason that product sold so well, $1 billion, was because it was simple to understand. And we had
Hmm.
a rule when we were filming the infomercials. You had to turn the volume off, right? Put mute on it. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
got it by that, you had something, right? So that was litmus test one. So you
Hmm.
understand it.
Hmm.
Litmus test two, and the thing that made that explode, and something that I carried with me to this day, is it better than you thought it was going to be? So the first time somebody got on that ab roller, they knew immediately, okay, it does one thing. Got it, right? It does this. Cool. Oh my God, my abs, they're really burning. Was it the magic of the ab roller? Or maybe you just never did a crunch right in the first place? It
Yeah.
was cool on your neck.
Yeah.
But either way, right, to your point, they felt it, right? So at trade shows now, on the commercial side of our business, we do a lot of trade events, in the industry and the brands and all this sort of stuff. You always have the equipment on there. In the early days, I was getting on the stuff all the time. And let me show you how this works and whatever, whatever. But I realized really quickly that if I had to do that, the product wasn't right, because in most health clubs, you're not going to have somebody there doing that. A trainer is
Hmm.
going to be working with their client, not necessarily going to go over to the other guy or girl who's by themselves. So it had to be so intuitive that anybody could walk up and just do it. So now at trade events, I just kind of sit back and I watch. Of course, I engage with you when you come over, right? I do all that. But I watch, how are they going to use the product, right? And I watch their face. Oh, wow. Oh, feel, right? You get that. Like with the ab coaster, one of the cool things is you'll see people, they'll get on it, right? And it goes straight up and down. Then I'll come over, one of the sales reps come over, hey, watch this. Twist your knees to the side to hit the obliques. Their eyes light up because it's so simple. It just shifts over, they hit the obliques. Oh my gosh, now we have a conversation to have. So yeah,
Hmm.
that immediacy of return on your effort is huge. And it's got to blow you away, because if it doesn't, you'll lose them quick. People be nice or whatever, but you'll lose them. But that is a challenge on the home side when you're selling via that. So the way we've combated that, of course, is like most companies nowadays: testimonial and review. Hear it from
Yeah.
somebody else. That's
Hmm.
that's the magic. In the infomercial days, we would do something called man on the street. Like if you go back and watch infomercials, we would
Yeah.
go to shopping malls or whatever. We would put ab coasters out. You just get people on it and film their reactions to it. But now a lot of people would say, "Ah, oh, it's scripted, whatever." It wasn't, but it seemed like it. So now the review is everything, as you know, online. It's what everybody looks for.
Yeah, well, I mean, people say scripted. A lot of UGC these days can be scripted, like for ads when people pay for them. So, um, no, and I think that's very interesting. I'd love to just dive a little bit deeper into your product development, what you can share. I know you said if people need someone to explain how to use it, you noticed that at the trade shows and the product wasn't doing it right, and with the litmus tests on the videos for the infomercials. you know fitness very well. I mean, this is your life. This is your product. Your partner, when you first started out, knew it very well. How do you how do you separate yourself from your knowledge when you're doing product development to make sure it'll fit your customer?
Yeah, great question. And again, let's go back, right? When I first came back to New Jersey to work for Don in the health clubs, I had my master's degree in clinical physiology. I thought I was the man, right? I know all this stuff. And I'm going to
Yeah.
work in a health club. And I started in those early days, I was a personal trainer. And I'd be dropping nuggets on people, man, like, oh, the real name of the muscle. I just watched people like, they didn't care. I didn't
Just
care.
over their head. Yeah.
1 out of 10 thought it was interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I realized really quickly you have to, and I don't mean to use the word dumb, but you got to dumb it down. You got to scale it down to bring
Hmm.
it to the people. So it, when it came to the fitness products, it was the same way for me. Like in the beginning, when I was first developing products, I'd get so into the biomechanics and the physiology, and all that stuff's important. And we test it all, right? We do EMG muscle testing to make sure it's effective. Of course, we make sure it's safe. We do all that. But the message to the consumer and to the club owner is simple and effective. That's it. Now, you
Hmm.
have to be armed with that other stuff because you're going to get the trainer, you're going to get the real fitness person who's going to challenge you on that, or they're going to want to have that discussion. So we're there with you, but we don't lead with that. We lead with the everyman content. You're looking for great abs. One of the best ways to do it is ABC. You're looking for great glutes. The reason is right? And stuff that everybody can understand, and most importantly, stuff that they can relate to. You've probably been doing this. Well,
Hmm.
the reason that's not the most effective is, oh, that's interesting, right? Let me give this thing a shot. Or, for example, with our Tire Flip 180 product, it's a stationary tire flipping device.
Mm.
That was the easiest sale in the world because we went to health club owners and said, we notice you have these regular tractor tires in your facility. I bet you notice that they take up a lot of room,
Yeah. A lot of
make a
space.
lot of noise,
Yeah.
and they can be really unsafe. Yeah, but people like them. Yep, they do. We've got a solution for that.
Mm.
Boom. And they're like, oh my God, right? And when that light bulb goes off inside of 30 seconds, you got it in there. So
Hmm.
it's really, you do have to have that other stuff as a foundation, but it's almost like the old images where there's a mountain growing out of the ocean, right? What you're seeing is the top. Now you want to dig a little deeper, see how deep the roots are. We can go there with you. We'll prove it all. But the sale happens up here for 90% of the people.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you've been through the infomercial days. You've grown the companies as, digital marketing has expanded. What are some of the biggest marketing opportunities or challenges that the abs company is looking at 2023? And I mean, I'm sure your sales cycle really picks up December, January, for New Year's, right? As people are making those resolutions and things.
Yeah, what you get in the cycles of our sales are there's a few times where the clubs are getting ready, right? So
Mm.
August is always very busy in the commercial sector because September is when a lot of people return to the health club after taking the
Okay.
summer off, right?
Yeah.
November, December are getting ready for the January openings, right? So they want to be ready. They don't wait till January. But on the consumer side, yeah, January's hot, right? New Year's resolution and all that good stuff. But so from a challenge standpoint, from a digital marketing, the biggest thing you see is there's so much competition, right, out there
Hmm.
for attention. Doesn't mean
C-
the products are great, but the attention,
CPMs and CPAs high.
yeah, very high,
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's finding that right market for the people to actually resonate with your product, right? What's the right age demographic that's going to want to use an ab coaster or something like that is a little bit different even than the glute products, right? Because sometimes the younger male generation is from in fitness is a little bit more machine averse, right? They want to go out and just be
Mhm.
more functional. I'll do my burpees, I'll stand on my head, I'll do all that stuff. Cool, man. Great, right? Where the older generation is like, I don't want to be on the floor. I don't want that. We'll do it. But when it
Mhm.
comes to the glutes, man, if you could take two like rubber bands and figure out how to tie them together and turn it into a glute exercise, it would sell today because that's how hot the category is. And a lot
Really?
of the consumer with that, generally that younger age female up to, the 30s or so on, they're not married to, oh, I need to do it on a machine or off a machine. They just want the best result. So it's kind of knowing how you're marrying the product to the market you're going to. But the challenge is that number one. And then number two, once you figure that out, is how do you make your message stand apart.
Hmm.
Because here's the reality. A lot of people in the fitness space, even though we've sold like literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of our products, go down the street and ask people who the abs company is. They won't know, right? They don't know the brand per se
Hmm.
of the company. So you got to form a brand of the product. And that's where the power is. So even a lot of our marketing brought to you by the people that created the ab coaster, right? Powered by ab coaster technology. Sometimes throwing that in there, that sort of thing works. But the other side of digital marketing too, that we find is so challenging is really getting the attributions right, right? Like where did the sale really come from? And
Hmm.
it's like of course, Zucks is claiming he got it. Sergey's claiming he got it. So they keep you spending all your money on it. My hedge on that is I just buy stock in both of those companies. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'll do. But there's new software. Like we use a product called Triple Whale now
Yeah.
that's really given us
Yeah.
great insights on that. Because my market, my web people are like, oh yeah, we got a 85 ROAS. I'm like, no, the heck we didn't. Like, show me that. And
Yeah.
now we're really dialing down. So I think like you alluded earlier to data, right? The more data you can get on these things, that's been the challenge, getting accurate data. Because once we have it, we'll turn the fuel on the spend. I'm not averse to the spend. I just got to be able to really show, am I getting a return?
Yeah, I was just at a marketing conference Monday and Tuesday in San Diego, and Triple L was there. They were speaking. They're a very popular product in the D2C space, and there's another product a lot of people are talking about for attribution, but also for consumer psychology, which is no commerce, a post purchase survey. So a
Sure.
lot of people are pushing whether you go with no commerce or a different one. A lot of people are pushing towards post-purchase surveys just because it's zero-party data, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's directly from the horse's mouth, if that's politically correct to say. I don't know. I'm from the South, but directly from the horse's mouth. It's right after they purchased, so you're getting the real insights. And the panel that was up there was talking about how you'd be surprised how people are willing to share just paragraphs in it. Like they were a company built T-shirts. I'm actually wearing one right now. Was saying that they saw in a post-purchase survey that somebody heard about their brand because they got in a bar fight and there was a shirt that ended up on the floor and they picked up the shirt and liked how it felt, so they bought a bunch of shirts from the website, like something you would just never
You'd
expect,
never
right?
know. Yeah.
So yeah, that data piece can be difficult. I'm going to get on a tangent with this. It's tough to have one true North Star with data. It's very tough. And I imagine with the other opportunity you're talking about with messaging, I'm going to make some assumptions, but there's probably some constants like, older demographics, safety, like not hurting themselves, because free weight is a lot more variable for hurting yourself and things like that. But I do imagine trends change with either based on generational trends, the things you're seeing on TikTok or things you're not, versus like gender norm trends and things like that as well. Is that fair to say?
It's definitely fair to say, and that's why, again, you go back to something I said earlier. Categorically, some things don't change. And
Mm-hmm.
categorically, let me tell you what doesn't change. People who stand in front of a mirror, clothed,
Mm-hmm.
unclothed, bathing suit, pajama, whatever, you're taking
Mm-hmm.
a look at your stomach, you take a
Mm-hmm.
look at your butt, right? That will never change. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that because those are two categories where I can sell products, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you try to zero in, depends how deep you go, how much will my trend change? The trend may be like, okay, we don't want to work the abs with a machine that's on the floor, an ab roller, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be on the floor anymore. Let's
Mm-hmm.
raise it off the floor, right? Still abs. We
Mm-hmm.
have a glute product where you lay on the floor, backs on the floor, and you arch the hips up from there. It's called the Cali lift, coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
But in a health club, you don't want that, right? That's not the trend people want, right? Especially one of the things that happened during the pandemic. How dirty are floors? Oh my gosh, nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants to be on the floor again, right? So we look at the big categories that don't change, right? So like money. The fact that people want a return on their investment is a category that will never change. The vehicle may change. Your job as the marketer and the product developer is to understand what the big categories are, the big buckets, and find your vehicle, find your horse that's going to win that race.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And, if you had to summarize everything that we've discussed today into a marketing mindset or a business mindset, what mindset should marketers have?
The for me, right, in one man's humble opinion, the mindset of the marketer has to be simple sells, right? Simple sells. And the other thing is stories, right? You have to tell a good story in there. So many people out there, the story is me, 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 right? That's not good enough, right? The story is you. And the old adage is facts tell and stories sell. So if you can take a story and allow the customer to relate to that story and see themselves as the hero in it, that's where you're going to win. But the only way to do that is to understand the trend, understand the end result that people are after, and get your message simply. Because if you don't have it to them in the first, and there's probably real data on this, but I'd say 7 to 10 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
it's over.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing is true in my commercial business at the trade show. If I don't have them hooked when they walk into my booth in under 20 seconds, it's over. They'll be polite, right? They'll give me some fake email or phone number. They're bouncing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be attuned to that in it, but stay simple, tell good stories.
And I'm on the lightning questions, but that just reminded me of one that I had. Ozempic. I hear about it. I don't know a lot about it, but I hear about it. It's a new product or a new medicine, dietary pill, but dietary pills have always been around. Do you find those as a competitor, or do you find those as a difficulty, or do you think that's a completely different niche or audience?
Look, you're in this, as I like to say, you're in the same zip code, different neighborhood, right? And what it is, and with people who go after those quick fixes, is what are they really after? They want to lose weight, right? And that's a
Mm-hmm.
different market than those who really want to be fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And we've always tried to have our products be the gateway to a larger health and fitness journey. We may use the butt or the abs or something like that to be our hook, but then we always tell you a much greater story, because at the end of the day, we believe that fitness changes lives, and that's where we want to be. You may lose a little weight on those things, but are you really getting long-term health benefit? I'd venture to say that answer is no, which is why, as you said, they've been around forever, right? Because there's no
Yeah.
permanent fix there.
Yeah. And for anyone listening that's in the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, what role or roles do you think will have the highest demand or opportunity in the next 3 to 5 years?
Digital for sure, right? You better be a digital expert in all of this. You better understand Google. You better understand Facebook. You better just understand how to quickly get a message across in a crowded marketplace, because Google and Facebook won't always be the things. Then TikTok came out of nowhere, right? What's the next
Yeah.
thing to be? But the premise is the same. Tell a good, quick story that's simple, attract attention, and get people there. And then, like we said, keep getting better and better at figuring out what's actually working out there, because your marketing consultants, your marketing team members even are going to tell you a story that looks good, but when you dig beneath the hood, it's easy to blow a lot of money in there doing that. And you'll say, wow, we're selling all this, but we're broke. And that's not the game I
Mm-hmm.
play.
Yes. And last question for you. Where can listeners connect with you or learn more about your business?
Yeah, on all socials at the Abs Company. So TAG, abs like your stomach, ABS, company spelled out. You can find us there and check out what we do.
Perfect. Sean, well, I appreciate you coming on today.
It was sure a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.